chào các bạn. Anh ở đường Phạm Ngũ Lão rồi. Sẽ gặp một bạn anh đã gặp ở bên Đức. Vì ở đó anh đi lên xe buýt thì có gặp một con gái đó ở trong xe buýt. Anh muốn ngồi ở bên kia của một con gái nhìn như người Việt Nam. Nhưng mà về ở Berlin có rất nhiều người Việt Nam và anh ngồi ở bên của cô ấy. Anh nói cảm ơn, cô ấy rất bất ngờ vì chúng tôi anh bắt đầu gặp mấy lần ở Berlin nói tiếng Đức và nói tiếng Việt. Okay, so in the bus she took her bag from the seat. I could sit down and I said "Cảm ơn," and she was very surprised that I would speak Vietnamese. So and then we started a language tandem, which is a great method to learn languages. I taught her a bit German and she taught me a bit Vietnamese. So now she's back for TED and we are meeting up probably here. She is coming. So I haven't met her for pretty much half a year. I was in Berlin earlier this year. Started with some films in like English and Vietnamese. Didn't work that well. But she helped me set up first video, which I never published. So her name is Jean and she's living in Berlin. Her husband is over there. He lives in Saigon and I want to find out how they are managing. This is really the first time we talk English. No, yeah, normally we talk German. Do we ever talk Vietnamese?
Sure.
Yeah. So you just talk German. Can you say a German? What is that? A very difficult sentence for a test. I give you a very difficult sentence in German and you repeat it? Okay. The sentence is Fischers Fritze fischt frische Fische.
Fischer, 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 Fritze, frische Fischer. Fischers, Fischer, Fischer.
Do you have a sentence like this in Vietnamese that I should?
Buổi trưa ăn bưởi chua.
Buổi chang, buổi chua.
Nè, bưởi chua, nè, buổi trưa.
Buổi trưa.
Ăn bưởi chua.
Buổi chua.
Nein.
Okay, that's
Das Problem ist das. Weißt du, das Problem ist das.
Das Problem ist. So every German, this is one of my friends found that out. Every German says das Problem ist, which means the problem is, in the beginning of a lot of sentences. Is that true? In Germany, everyone says the problem is.
Ja, soweit ich verstehe.
I think that's really something particular in Germany. Right? So you have lived in Germany for 3 years. 3 years?
No, just for 2 years.
2 years?
In Germany for 2 years. So the first year I spent my first year to study because I got a scholarship from the AAD. It is a kind of program that German university started to develop in Vietnam, and I started with the Vietnamese partnership of a German university from Germany.
Which university?
Das ist der Berliner Hochschule für Wirtschaft und Welt und die English name is Berlin School of Economics in New York.
Okay. You know what's the fun thing about?
About?
Because your English sounds like an English from a German.
Oh nein.
You speak English with a German accent.
Wenn, dann machen wir endlich
That is funny.
Vietnamese.
Let's talk about the Germans. How do you get along with the Germans? How are the Germans? How is it in Germany? Like, tell me something.
Most of the case they are nice and open, but I think it is important that we should start conversation with them instead of keep silent and waiting for their reaction.
Yeah.
Because as I understand that most of the people that I have chance to meet as kind of they are maybe part of the culture, but they are kind of calm and but they tend to be they become very nice when you start conversation with them. When you are the first one to start conversation with them, so they are open and overall they are very nice. It doesn't mean that all the people live in Germany are helpful, but at least if they can help you, then they help you
with everything they got.
Yeah, with everything they have.
You speak way more German than English, right?
Yes, because my work, so I'm required to use German most of the time at my work. So I associate, or now I can speak better German than English.
Yeah, definitely. And we speak German normally when we meet. So yeah, it's funny to see you mixing.
Es kommt immer darauf
You're talking German again.
So it really depends. When I could not find an expression in English, then I turned to German or Vietnamese because he want to learn my language, but we have no problem with communication.
So in Berlin, what was the happiest time there?
I think the most happiest moment is the time when winter ended, because winter in Germany, especially in Berlin, is famous, and for me it's interesting to see the different seasons in Germany, which I couldn't see in my country, in Vietnam, especially in Saigon, where is no two seasons in the year, rainy season and sunny season. So the things that I like most is that the nature changed itself from winter to spring. So that gives us the expression that life begins after a long, difficult time. And
when the leaves come back, when the trees start to grow leaves
burn
again, to be green again. What time is that?
I think it is in March, or in March. Then you feel better again, and life in Germany at the beginning was very, very difficult, but I think when you try hard and you come to Germany with an open heart, then you will receive what you wish, what you want.
Why was it hard in the beginning? Was it the understanding of the Germans?
No, I think the most difficult thing is the system, how the system functions in Germany, because for example, first you need to register your address, and to do that you need an appointment, and to make an appointment you need to speak. And of course this is much easier when you speak good German, but for most people who come to Germany, this is the most difficult things, the Sprache, or the language, the German language, because this is the official language for administration, and if you could not speak it well, then you always depends on somebody else to register, to open a bank account, to look for a house. And in Berlin, the situation is much difficult, because it is always people who want to go to Berlin, students, Künstler, artists, for example, and it makes the situation really difficult for new Anfänger beginners.
Yeah.
Most people who work in the administration areas, for example, in city hall or in the job center.
Job center is the name of the office that helps you get a job, gives you money if you don't have a job.
Right.
That's called job center. It's the English word for a German office.
Yeah, that's right. And you must speak German You must speak German. If you cannot speak German, then you have to have a translator with you, and this makes the situation complicated. And so I would say that the system is different. How its function is different, totally different from the country where I come from. So it makes the beginner the beginning of every newcomers in Germany really different. But on the other way, you have many address or the contacts that can help you. The problem is that you should tell or contact as soon as possible your international office at your university because they are the central contact to help international students.
How often did you go to German offices?
Foreign office or the international office?
In general.
In general.
All in total.
In total.
More than 100 times?
No, not that much. Good. One thing I want to mention here is that in Germany there will be different opening hours for every day. So it's not like here in Vietnam that we open regularly. Our public administration open regularly from 7:30 in the morning and close at 4 in the afternoon. But in Germany, each day has different opening hours, and it makes it very difficult. So you need to well informed before you go into an addressor, because it may be that you could not get an appointment because nobody works in the afternoon on this day. So it makes the problem more complicated.
Is learning German more difficult than English?
I think so.
Is it like the same thing?
I think
How
so.
would you-
It's the experience is quite different because when I start learning English, so I had very little chance to speak or to practice my English professionally outside the classroom context. So, and that is the problem why we know many vocabularies in English, but we cannot use it naturally or in a context. But in German, I learned German in Germany, so I actually learned German before in Vietnam, but until I'm in Germany, then I started to learn it actively and I have chance to apply it.
Yeah.
So this is very important that you have the environment or the chance to activate your language learning.
You only had 8 months of learning German in Vietnam, and then you applied, and then you went to Germany. That's so fast. Learning a language to that extent in 8 months is very. I mean, you were able to communicate in German when you got there.
Very little, very limited. I would say it's very limited at the beginning, and even after 1 year, when I take different courses at the university and also at a private school, I could communicate very limited in German. But until I started work in a completely speaking German as German-speaking environment, then I can improve it because.
That's when it took off.
Yeah, because it is the contemporary German. That is the German that people speak in everyday situation, and that you couldn't learn it in schools or from teachers. The German are typical for creating machine, and we think that their culture is very rigid, not flexible. This is true, but not in the way that they educate or they cultivate their kids. Because German parents spend really considerate time in investing or in contacting with their children, and it is the law in Germany that allows parents with small children to reduce their working hours to spend more time with their young offspring at home. Every day they say thousands of words, thousands of idioms. German people use very often idioms, and this is not easy to understand, even to learn it very well. But just take it easy because you can improve it by the time.
What's your favorite idiom?
Favorite idiom in German? Many. But I don't know whether I understand it correct. So say that who wants will find the way. Wer will, der finde.
Wo ein Wille, da ein Weg.
Ja, genau.
Where there is a will, there is a way. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And good. Stop.
Yes, stop.